Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Baxter Student Ambassador Program webinar of our 2022 season. My name is Dan McDonald, Sales and Marketing Development Associate with Baxter Media, and I'm here with Amanda Wing, one of our student finalists from Fanshawe College. Now, just before we get into things, I'd like to give an enthusiastic shout out to our program sponsors this year. We have Manulife, Propel, powered by Tourism HR Canada, ACTA, the Association of Canadian Travel Agencies, TIO, the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, and SCAL Canada. Thank you for helping to make BSAP a continued success. I'd also like to let everyone know that at the end of this webinar, you'll have the chance to submit a question or two to our finalists. To do so, please type them into the Q&A section of the public chat box or the chat box itself, which are both towards the right-hand side of the screen, and those questions will be answered in due time. And remember, this is a live session, so your patience is appreciated during any technical difficulties that might arise. And without further ado, I will now hand things over to Amanda. Welcome, Amanda. Thanks for being here.
Hello, my name's Amanda, and thank you for having me today. So today we're going to talk about New Zealand. Oh, it skipped ahead on me. So New Zealand is made up of two main islands, the North and the South Island, and many smaller islands as well. The North Island contains most of the population, so about 76% of the population lives here. So a little bit about New Zealand. So before booking a client here, some things to note is that the currency is the New Zealand dollar. The official language of New Zealand is Maori and English, but English is the most widely spoken language, as there are many residents that have English and British descent. The climate is very temperate and mild. Due to being an island and surrounded by the ocean, this moderates the climate. They receive a moderate to average amount of rainfall and abundance of sunshine. In the winter, it usually goes down to around negative 10 degrees Celsius, so it's not too cold. Since New Zealand is located below the equator, the seasons are opposite of what they are here in Canada. And so the high season of travel is anywhere between November and February, as this is their summer. It's also when the Christmas season is, so lots of tourists go to New Zealand to visit family over the holidays. The average length of stay for a North American is about 20 days, as it is a great length to fly, and many visitors are visiting family. Also, everyone that's traveling to a place like New Zealand usually makes a stop in Australia or another island as well, as it is a great distance to fly. So did you know? So New Zealand has many national parks and protected islands to preserve unique plants and wildlife, such as the kiwi bird, which is a flightless bird, shown there in the bottom. Then after that, both New Zealanders and the fruit were named kiwi as well. So tourism in New Zealand as it stands is based off of a few things. Many of the tourists that are coming to visit relatives or friends. Nearly 1 out of every 4 people that come to New Zealand are visiting for this reason. A major tourist market is Australia because of the proximity as well as many cultural links. Australia accounts for 45% of the tourists, and other tourists typically consist of people from the US and Canada, mostly from California in the US, Japan, and China. There are also many people from the UK as well, because of the relatives that they have. In 2015, there were more than 2.5 million visitors to New Zealand. So we're just going to touch on travel insurance. It is very important for the traveler to take travel insurance, as it will cover the traveler in many different events, such as a medical emergency. As of January 1st, 2020, OHIP no longer covers anything outside of Canada, and medical expenses in other countries can become quite expensive. In the event that the traveler has to cancel last minute due to an illness or an emergency in the family, the traveler does not want to lose all the money they have already spent on this trip that they have been dreaming of for a long time. New Zealand is not a trip that you decide to go on overnight. It is a long and thought out process. In the event of baggage being lost or stolen, travel insurance will cover them. If for some reason the flight gets canceled, travel insurance will cover them to an extent, as the airport and airline will not pay for their accommodation or additional meals that the traveler was not planning for. Always check with the policy that what it covers for each client. That's just the basic. The commission is also great for travel agents as well. And that's just a bonus, but it really is about looking out for the client and having their best interest at heart. So some trips for traveling to New Zealand. For a Canadian passport, it must be valid for a minimum of 3 months beyond when the traveler is expected to leave the country. A visa is not required for stays less than 90 days or 3 months. The client may be required to present an onward or return ticket upon arrival and proof of sufficient funds equal to 1,000 New Zealand dollars per person per month, or 400 New Zealand dollars per person per month if you have proof of prepaid accommodations. The only routine vaccines are required to enter this country, but the client may want to get a booster of anything just out of precaution before they go. So as this is a destination on many bucket lists, including mine, here are some things to know before you go. So after greeting, typically only first names are used unless you are told otherwise. Speaking loudly and excessive demonstrative behavior is seen as very inappropriate. Chewing gum or using a toothpick in public is also offensive. Ice is not typically served in drinks, and water is available only upon request. The food in New Zealand is typically British, so there's items such as beef, pork, mutton, potatoes, seafood, cheese, and many other items available that your client may recognize. So we have decided to go to New Zealand, and so our gateway city in New Zealand is Auckland. Typically, when departing from the Toronto Pearson Airport here in Southern Ontario, most flights take place on an Air Canada aircraft, and then you make one stop in Vancouver, San Francisco, or Los Angeles, where you will then transfer to an Air New Zealand aircraft. The traveler spends between 21 and 25 hours in transit, and because of crossing the international date line, the traveler will arrive 2 calendar days later. So what New Zealand has to offer is lots for the adventurous and the less adventurous traveler. New Zealand boasts ecotourism for the preservation and attractiveness for clients. Some of the main attractions include, but are not limited to, mountains like Mount Cook and Fjords. Hiking is a big thing as well. It has stunning beaches, history, and culture, and those are just some of the many reasons travelers continue to come to New Zealand. So some ways to explore. Some popular ways are by doing a fly drive tour, a guided tour, or exploring independently. A fly drive tour is where the client would fly to the destination, pick up a hired car, and follow a detailed itinerary. This is great for a client that wants to explore on their own rather than with a group, but likes a schedule, and it has all the destinations and tips for traveling in the area pointed out for them. Guided tours are just as you would expect. The guest travels on a smaller motor coach than we're used to here in North America, as the groups are generally a maximum of 10 people approximately. Or the traveler may want to explore on their own with some suggestions as where to go. So some tour operators in New Zealand. So Kentucky, who has a target market of 18 to 35-year-olds, they have 42 tours in New Zealand, and their group sizes consist of up to 8 people. Hakka Tours has 33 tours, and their age bracket is 18 to 99, and they typically take up to 9 people in a group. G Adventures takes up to 9 people. Trafalgar Tours, I found, takes up to 99 people, which is a ginormous group. And Flying Kiwi takes up to 26 people as well. And on the slide there, I listed how many tours each of them has. So there are quite a few tours in New Zealand. So New Zealand is a truly gorgeous destination to visit, as there's active glaciation, many waterfalls and Matterhorns and fjords all along the southwestern coast. New Zealand is dominated by mountains. The Southern Alps are located on the South Island, and they hold Mount Cook, which is the highest peak of both Australia and New Zealand, measuring at 12,349 feet. Milford Sound is the best and favorite destination to enjoy the fjords, as pictured there to the right. Just beautiful. Hiking is a wonderful thing to do while in New Zealand. A major destination is Auckland itself, as it is the largest city. It is built on 2 hills and has 2 harbors and is surrounded by forests. This provides many opportunities for going for a scenic hike and looking at the city from above, as well as it offers many scenic drives throughout the city if you aren't into hiking. Fiordland National Park is easily accessible with Norwegian-like fjords, forests, and lakes, and this national park contains the Milford Sound. So another did you know? One reason New Zealand is a natural paradise is that nearly 1/3 of its country is protected by natural reserves. The residents here also have a great ecological awareness. So beaches. Located on the North Island of New Zealand, where they have more of a subtropical climate, there is a 90-mile beach which has incredible sandy beaches with stunning scenery to go with it. Queensland is located on the edge of Wakatipu Lake and has year-round appeal, as it has many summer-related activities like the beach and water sports, along with rugged mountains surrounding the city and lake, which is great for skiing in the winter. So Rotorua is the largest tourist attraction in New Zealand, attracting about 60% of holiday visitors. It is the center for Maori culture. It contains a museum, Maori Arts and Crafts Institute, shopping of Maori handicrafts, and a model village. Daily programs are available for learning more about the history and culture. It also has steam geysers, boiling mud, and hot springs, just like Yellowstone National Park in the US. Hotels all over New Zealand offer true Maori music, culture, and dance. They do offer the standard chain hotels as well, but if you're looking for a truly unique experience, there are many different hotels that can offer you this just in your accommodation and not going anywhere else. So some other notable places to see is the Glowworm Grotto, which is located just south of Auckland. It has become it has said to be one of the most spectacular cave experiences in the world. Another one is the Meraki boulders, which are huge spherical boulders that weigh several tons and are up to 6 yards in circumference. These are located just north of Dunedin, which is known as Edinburgh of the South. Dunedin is a very eye-catching town, as it has spire, turrets, towers, and gables adorn the roofs of many beautiful stone buildings. So there should be a slide here. I'm not sure what happened.
Oh, sorry about that. It might have, when it converted to PDF, it might have deleted one, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it did. Anyways, it's according to the Guinness Book, name of the street is Baldwin Street, and the slope measures 19 degrees. So there was a picture of it there, but
In the audience view, it's displaying it, so there's a chance they can see it, because I'm seeing an embedded image for audience
sorry
view,
about that.
and the slide was actually showing for them. So maybe they can see it.
Some people may still be asking why New Zealand. So it is a very beautiful and breathtaking destination. It is an English-speaking country for those travelers who are worried about language barriers. It is a great destination to get away from our winter, like it's snowing here today, as when it's our winter, it's their summer. There's so much to do and see. It is certainly a great place for someone who is a nature lover and just wants to get outside and explore and loves the mountains. And did I mention that it is truly beautiful? So unfortunately, every vacation has to come to an end, and the worst part about going to New Zealand is having to leave the scenic and beautiful destination. So to go home, the client would go through the gateway of Auckland again, board on an Air New Zealand aircraft, and again would have one stop, generally in San Francisco, Vancouver, sometimes Edmonton, or LA again. And from there, they would either board an Air Canada aircraft or United Airways aircraft and fly home to Toronto. It typically takes between 27 and 35 hours to fly back, and the client would arrive home one calendar day after departing. Thank you for taking this journey through New Zealand with me. Please feel free to have any questions or ask me any questions you have, and I truly appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That was fantastic. Yeah, we'll open it up to questions now for our audience. And Ian Stalker from Baxter Media has a couple of questions here. He says, "Hi, Amanda. What would you say to someone who thinks New Zealand looks great but is concerned about the distance, like, for example, the distance from Canada?"
One thing that I would suggest for someone that is concerned about flying, for someone that's concerned about flying all that distance, I would suggest that they maybe take a stop at another island along the way or something like that, just to kind of break up that journey time. And since it is such a long flight, it's worth seeing more places as you go rather than having to do the long flight many times.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. And his next question here is, do you think visitors should try distinctive New Zealand activities like bungee jumping?
I would certainly recommend bungee jumping to anyone that is willing to do it. I think it would be an amazing experience. And in New Zealand, because of all the mountains and the fjords and everything, there are so many opportunities for activities like that. So I would certainly encourage anyone that is wanting to do it or even thinking about it, that they should give it a try, as it could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's truly beautiful.
It's something I've never done, but in a scenic enough location, I would definitely consider it.
Yes, for sure. It's like skydiving. If it's beautiful, it's totally worth it.
Oh, yeah, I bet. And Amanda, what would you consider to be your dream job?
So my dream job right now is to be a travel agent. Prior to COVID, I was doing a co-op and a travel agency here in Guelph, and I absolutely loved it. I was working with many highly experienced travel agents, both corporate and just and for the public, and they taught me so much, and I couldn't wait to go back. And then unfortunately COVID happened, so I haven't been back in the agency since, as they had to do some cuts and stuff like that. But I cannot wait to be a travel agent after I finish my program.
Excellent. Yeah, COVID certainly threw a wrench into a lot of people's plans, but I mean, at least things are finally on their way to turning around.
Yes, for sure.
Julie says, well done as always, Amanda. And Laura Bowman from Baxter Media says, hi, Amanda. Thank you for a great presentation. You mentioned New Zealand is on your bucket list. What is your number one site to see there when you do get to go?
So one of my number one sites to see is the boulders that I had just mentioned. I can pull them up again. I think they are beautiful, and I've seen so many pictures of them at sunset. So that is definitely up there. Another one is the Glowworm Grotto, as well as Fjordland National Park. I think all of those places just have so many natural beauties that you can't see anywhere else in the world. And yeah, I would love to go there one day.
Good answer. Thank you, Amanda. So I do believe that wraps it up for the questions and the Q&A, but I'd like to thank everyone that attended this webinar today. Thank you all so much for being here and for supporting BSAP in this 2022 season. The program is now in its 8th year, and we couldn't do it without you. And Amanda, thank you so much for your fantastic presentation. It was great having you here virtually with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll be in touch again with you over the next few days. You'll hear from me or one of my colleagues at Baxter Media. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, and take care, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.